Hello everyone! So here we are today to learn about our lessons in Unit 2, the communication and globalization. And for the learning outcomes, explain how cultural and global issues affects the communication and appreciate the impact of communication on society and the world. Introduction. Communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, and behaviors. And when we said communication, it is an act of receiving and sending information. On the other hand, globalization is an act or process of globalizing. The state of being globalized, especially the development of an increasing integrated global economy, marked especially by free trade, free flow of capital, and the tapping of cheaper foreign labor markets. When we said globalization, it includes economies, cultures, and population, brought by cross-border trade in goods and services, technologies, and flows of investment, people, and information. For example, Russia is the third largest country that exports natural gas and oil. Trading oil and gas from Russia to the Philippines is also part of trading goods across borders. And it is the flow of investment of people that presents the globalization. Globalization, the global are terms we often encounter today. These terms are associated with realities outside the territories of nation-state. All countries are engaged in globalization. Very few societies were unaffected by this phenomenon. Because of this, we need to understand exactly what it is and, more importantly, how it impacts communication. Global communication is directly affected by the process of globalization, and it helps to increase business opportunities and remove cultural barriers and develop a global village. Both globalization and global communication have changed the environmental, cultural, and political and economic elements of the world.
How do you think cultural and global issues affect communication? Global communication is directly affected by the process of globalization. It helps us to increase business opportunities, remove cultural barriers, and develop a global village. Satellites, fiber optic cables, and the internet make it effortless to share information with those in different time zones and location. So, in the process of globalization, our communication are also affected, and this helps us a lot, especially in sharing of information. It helps each businesses to have funding transactions, and it also helps us to remove cultural barriers as a people are given opportunity to understand each culture with acceptance. What is globalization anyway? How globalization works? It's the concept of how people and goods move easily across borders, with few barriers to slow down the flow of product and services between nations. There is also a cultural elements, as ideas and traditions are freely assimilated by nations. So, globalization has brought many benefits to people, but not to everyone. So, globalization as going global. It means that countries are now connected in terms of people and products or services. Although it might be beneficial not to everyone since not all people have the resources to go global. How did globalization happen? We may think of globalization as a relatively new phenomenon, but it's been around for centuries. One example is the Silk Road, when trade spread rapidly between China and Europe via an overland route. Merchants carried goods for trade back and forth, trading silk as well as the gem of the species coffee. So, Globalization is like the trading between two countries. For example, China and Europe. Trade is the overland route where also trading brings their product to be traded. What drives it? Globalization has speeded up enormously over the last half century, thanks to great leaps in technology. The internet has revolutionized connectivity and communications, and helps people share their ideas much more widely. Just as the invention of printing press did in the 15th century, the advent of email made communication faster than ever. In fact, improvements in transport generally, faster ships, trains, and airplanes have allowed us to move around the globe much more easily. So, one of the best driver of globalization is technology. We are in technology era which are we blessed with technology advanced such internet where information now is free and easily to acquire. Also many transportation just like we have been mentioned. What's good about it? Globalization has led to many millions of people being lifted to poverty. Globalization has not only allowed nations to trade with each other, but to cooperate to each other as never before. So, one of the great impact of globalization is lifting poverty. As each country helps and cooperate with each other, they also help each other, the country, to have a job inside its own country or outside the country, just like being OFW. It's about it. While some areas have flourished, others have flowered as the jobs of commerce move elsewhere. Global weight has skyrocketed but also has a global warming. Basically, done wisely, globalization could lead to unparalleled peace and prosperity. Done poorly, to disaster. In other words of the IMF. So, globalization may also result to disaster as job or commerce are not being brought elsewhere where it may be difficult for each other to find their perfectly fitted jobs and opportunities. The impact of globalization on communication. As more people cross borders because of the globalizations, more language contact happens, making communication more challenging. So, as globalization spreads more, our world is now shrinking. We become of each other's different language and we even have the opportunity to learn.
Increased business opportunities. Many companies today hire employees that are located in other countries. Imagine not being able to talk to them instantly. That would create a successful business environment, would it? Using communication vehicles such as video calling make it simple to converse with colleagues across the globe, almost making it feel they are in the same room. With this kind of communication technology, many businesses are able to take advantage of opportunities in different countries or either improving the economic outlook on the global level. So, nakakatulong ng malaki sa ibang tao ang paggamit ng teknolohiya upang mapadali ang kanilang komunikasyon. So, let's proceed. Favor cultural barriers. The way people from two different cultures communicate can be very different. The way people approach problems and how they participate in communities is all influenced by culture. With television and movies, cultural barriers are commonly prevalent. Being able to communicate effectively and frequently help people understand each other's culture. Globalization has made it possible for someone in Japan to understand how someone in the US goes about the daily life. Creation of globalization. The global village is created when people are connected by technology. Many are now enrolling in universities across the world without having to leave their desk chair. Virtual assistant jobs are becoming commonplace, where employees from developing countries work with companies in North America or Europe So, ang global village ay nilikha kapag ang tao ay konekta sa pamamagitan ng teknolohiya. Malaki ding na itutulong ng teknolohiya sa mga kabataan sa kanilang pag-aaral kahit nasa bahay lamang sila. Also, nakakatulong din sa ibang naghahanap ng trabaho. There is so much knowledge about their countries and culture available online. That is no longer a complete mystery to find out who someone is from or what country they live in. The way you communicate could be affected by culture you were brought up as well as the way you brought up. So, where would be without the telephone or the internet or political campaign speeches? What would the world be like without television or radio? Where would you and I be without the gift of conversation, of a text message, a meeting, and a note? Communication breaks down barriers. When you are communicating with someone in their own languages and style, there's understanding. And with understanding, there is empathy, there is connection. Communication inspires. Communication at war, the artful, dynamic power of a message sent and received with success. When tragedy befalls a country, what do we expect? We look to our leaders for consolation, for comfort, for inspiration, and how does the come? So we have here example of communication or true communication. They have the radio broadcast, a TV announcement, and a speech. There is something about the written or spoken word that makes all better than we could ever be on your own. Whether it's through poetry, music, film, television, or the medium we use to communicate with each other or simply by listening to the voice or to other voice.
Today we will discuss about a topic which is the flight from conversation by Sherry Turkle. So in this article written by Shirley Turkle entitled The Flight from Conversations was all about how this generation of people is losing their ability to communicate via face-to-face and how we are always communicate on social media websites. The widespread emergence of technology has a great impact in our lives. As it stated in an article, it is also about how we've become accustomed to being alone together, and how we are always connected to people without being with one another. It talks about conversation is more intimate and better by using technology, while face-to-face conversation unfolds slowly. It teaches patience when we communicate our digital device. We learn different habits. So, as we ramp up the volume of velocity in online connections, we start to expect faster answers. We're losing our ability to function as normal human beings, and technology is taking over to us. In this article also, the author focuses on how communication is being sacrificed for technology. The types of technology mentioned in this article were social media, emails, text messages, and artificial intelligence, which are some of these things replacing regular face-to-face conversations. Another thing mentioned by Turkel in her article is that she prefers the face-to-face conversation